Oh, hey,
Hey, what's up?
how's your day?
All right, busy. Yeah, pretty busy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
have fun. hmm
The first question is, what is your musical background and how did you get into singing and all that?
Okay, well, let me see. How did I get into music, my music background? Okay, so um I studied law back in the day, and when I was
Mm.
studying law, I joined in Spain we have this sort of brotherhoods, right? Which we sort of play I kind of say like folk music, Spanish folk music, South American folk music, and I don't know. I mean, I had never
Sorry,
played the
you broke
guitar
a
or
little bit.
anything like that. That was actually sorry. Is that right?
Sorry, you broke for a little bit.
Okay. Let me see if I can close a few programs. Hang on a second. Okay. Oh, is it better now?
Yeah,
Am I
yeah.
back?
Okay,
All right.
okay, I think it's actually my internet connection that's probably unstable. Here, I'll join my own hotspot
Okay.
really quick.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. No problem.
Okay, there we go. So,
All right. Okay.
yep, continue.
Okay, good. So put a slide on. So yeah, I started sort of let's say I was my life is has been a very colorful colorful life. 47 years of colorful life. So I was
That's
in the
nice.
States. I was in Pennsylvania for 2 years, and then I came back to Spain and I went to university. And when I was at the university, I joined this brotherhood, like you have brotherhoods in the States, isn't it? So one of these brotherhoods is about like singing and playing the guitar and the mandolin and serenading women and all that stuff. So I just saw myself dressed like like Batman, like a medieval version of Batman, and, playing the guitar and the
Um,
mandolin.
that's funny.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Medieval version of Batman.
Yeah,
Sounds
yeah, yeah,
nice. Yeah.
absolutely. Because you dress like I don't know, like Il Duca di Mantova, like in Rigoletto. It's like this kind of pompous thing. Still goes today, but it's a bit old fashioned. And and that's how I begun really singing and playing the guitar and stuff. So eventually my friends, sometimes you have these competitions, these contests, in which you're like a band, and one of the prizes is like a solo singing prizes, solo sing prize. So my friends told me, hey, you have a voice, you can sing. I was like, yeah, well, I can sing when I have drunk way too much, and there is a lady in the third floor, on a balcony, so I don't think that counts. But anyway, they pushed me to participate in one of these competitions with them, and I happened to win by chance or providence an award. So people started to say that I had a voice. I said, okay, well, wonderful. So after that, uh, I just sang for fun as an amateur. I didn't even know how to read music or anything like that. So um, moving on a few years, I finished college and I went to the United Kingdom. I mean, in Spain, I had done a few amateur concerts, like I don't know if you heard the gender, zarzuela and all that stuff. But I it was not professional; it was all amateur and stuff. and I didn't really have it in me. Um, I had maybe like a couple of singing lessons in my life, so I didn't really know what was it about.
Hmm.
And with all that luggage, I traveled to the United Kingdom, and I was at Nottingham University, uh, and I was doing a master's degree in environmental law. I was an assistant teacher there, and all of a sudden, I saw an advert on a music shop about, soprano gives singing lessons, and I said, oh, you know what? Maybe I should carry on, and explore this.
So you took singing lessons with the soprano?
Yeah, yeah. So her name
Okay.
was. Let's see. I'm very bad with names. Uh, God, I'll tell you. Maybe it will pop up later. So I just went to this lady's house and I just, I don't know, I screamed whatever I screamed. And she told me, "Wow, I can't handle you." Linda Gerard was her name. Linda Gerard, and she told me, I can't deal with your voice. You have to go and study with my teacher." I was like, "Are you nuts? I mean, I just want to have some fun. Like,
So
you know,
Linda Gerard.
yeah." That was basically my, I suppose, I wouldn't say she was my first teacher because I had maybe a couple of lessons with her, but she put me in touch with the one that was my first singing teacher, who was Pamela Cook in Mansfield, Nottingham.
Okay.
And then, again, it was all very amateur, kind of like, yeah, I like singing, but I don't know if I want to do anything with this. And eventually she sort of put the question forward, said like, would you like to become a professional singer? And my answer was like, my family's gonna kill me. Are you nuts? What made you think that I could become a professional singer? I've never studied music. I like singing, but that's about it. I'm a lawyer. I'm a teacher. And anyway, finally she got me an audition at the Guildhall School of Music, and we call it music and drama at the in London. So I did an audition for, back in the day, was Robin Bowman was the head of the vocal studies, and Clive Timms, who was the director of the opera program. And the only the only things I could sing, or I knew how to sing at the time, were Questa quella, La donna immobile, Dei miei volenti spiriti, and some Bellini songs. So I just went there and I sang, like my
Yeah,
my
so
way,
and the next question is, how would you describe your own voice overall?
my what in terms of what? In terms of Fach, in terms of
Yeah, yeah.
well, I think I've always been a lyric tenor. So my entire career was a lyric tenor that explored a bit the sort of the spinto repertoire. So I started singing. Um, Basically, I debuted uh, with Tamino in the
The magic
Zauberflöte,
flute?
a magic flute, yeah. But I sang eventually by the end of my career. I sang Trovatore and I sang Norma. So it was not like like Volpi that sang from Barbiere to Otello. I didn't have that privilege, but I basically, yeah, changed from being a sort of a lightish sort of tenor into a more meaty, I would say, full lyric tenor. I wouldn't consider myself a spinto or anything like that. Yeah,
Okay, so full lyric tenor is like what you consider yourself?
yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I
Okay,
mean,
that's fair.
yeah, I retired. What was it, like 11, 12 years ago,
Hmm.
and yeah, I was a full lyric tenor, but I didn't consider myself anything heavier than that. Although I did repertoire that is considered heavier than that. But
Okay,
yeah,
yeah, that's fair. So anyways, so there are rumors going around that most baritones these days are actually undeveloped tenors, and that most true baritones these days are being trained as basses. Do you agree with that?
Totally. I mean, yeah, totally no. I there is nothing universal. I think what defines a voice is there are many factors. What I think, generally speaking, what I believe uh, has happened, unfortunately, in the world of opera is that the voices have gotten smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. So that's what I see in every voice. There's both male and female voices. The audiences are being exposed and have been exposed for a large, number of years to what I would call like music theater singers singing opera. Um, and I don't, I don't mind. Uh, how can I say? I don't say this with any. How can I say? With any malice. I'm not trying to be nasty, but for me, the fact that somebody like Juan Diego Flores has sang Bohème in Covent Garden is basically a joke. I, I can't. I don't see that happening. So having that in mind, obviously, I'm one of those dinosaurs that consider that 50 years ago voices were better than now. And absolutely, I do agree with that.
Agreed.
So if we take the voice of the baritone, which by the way, I wish I had been a baritone because it's the voice I love the most. I love baritones and basses. I don't like real tenors, and I just happen to be a tenor. So
Yeah,
if
that
I
makes sense.
reincarnate, if I reincarnated, I would like to be a baritone because of the personality and actually the voice. I love the baritone voice. They have taken out the essence of the titarufo out of a baritone. Baritone has to be uh the expression of masculinity. Now, there is no something for me. There is not such a thing as a light baritone. So when I get confronted with this chevalier baritone, that most people sing in the count and stuff, I said that's not a baritone. That's a tenor. It's just an undertrained tenor that doesn't want to face the music. So it's a lazy tenor, and
Fair enough.
yeah, and the the same theory could be applied to a bass. So um there are intrinsic voices. For example, now I'm having there is a Norwegian bass, which is a very tall guy with a very long and thick neck. That I believe he's a bass, but he's 37, so his voice is not gonna pick in about 5 to 8 years. And I suggested he went for the bass, like bass baritone repertoire, rather to jumping into the bass repertoire as yet. And he has that sort of meaty requirements that I admire in the voice of a baritone. I mean, for example, I don't know, Il Devrano d'Arcangelo, that kind of bite. Those are the voices that I like. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I might respectfully disagree with you that there are no light baritones. I mean, for
Mm,
me personally, they may not be extremely common, but um I wouldn't say that it's impossible for that to exist, but like it is true that like some men classified as light baritones are
mm,
technically speaking undeveloped tenors. I agree with that.
mm,
And much if not most of though I wouldn't say most baritones these days, maybe like if I had to guess about a fifth of modern day baritones are
mm,
really
mm,
badly trained tenors, probably.
mm. Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that. See, again, I have the deepest admiration for anybody that is on stage. So if anybody is on stage performing, they must have done something good, right? So
Mhm.
I really applaud all of them, and they have all my respect. Because I know what it is to be on stage, and I know what it is to be a singer and to make it, ends meet. and it's hard. You know, competition is fierce. However, as I say, is like uh, at least what I've lived in the last 25 years is that voices have become smaller.
Agreed.
That they there is a lot of amplification, you know, and it's something that, believe it or not, I you know, I've witnessed on, you know, in the theaters, which I believe is totally counterproductive. Like Giacomini used to say, you know, if you want to be an opera singer, if you want to be actually a theater singer, you need to have a theater voice, which means, you know, no mics, right? So amplification is not, you know, it's not a thing for a theater. So you know, it's very fashionable nowadays. You find them everywhere. They're you know, you have microphones in all major opera houses. You have, you know, hidden microphones here and there, and again, that creates the illusion that somebody can sing with the proper color that an opera singer should have, and with the power that it should have, the squillo that it should have, but you are giving the audience a different kind of product. And well, since apparently there is no alternative, then the audience is getting used to that. So of course, there can be lightish baritones, and you have fags, you know, you have the typical the bariton Martin, for example, and all that stuff. So yes, there are peculiarities, but if we talk about the difference between a tenor and a baritone, I would say, okay, the the baritone the baritone strength, you know, is his middle upper register, whilst the voice of the tenor becomes all interesting after an F sharp. So it's like
I
that's
mean, there
that's what is
there
happening.
are lower tenors, Lawrence Melchior and Mario Delmonico, who have exciting mid ranges.
Yeah,
So there are exceptions, of course.
absolutely.
And
Yeah,
anyways,
and
I'm gonna have you react to this video that I'm gonna show in the comments section, in the chat.
okay. All right. So, are you gonna play a video or something?
Sorry, sorry for the confusion. You're supposed to click on the link in the chat.
Okay. Link. Wow. Let me see. Where is that? Because I get out chat. Okay. All right. So, okay. So, okay. I'm gonna take a look at this. Oh, my computer is a bit of a dinosaur, so I don't know how this is gonna work, but let's see. Octavist. Oh dear. Okay. Octavists. Inhale. All right. Oh man, now we have the adverts of YouTube. One moment. Mm,
Can you hear him?
Okay. Hmm.
You can pause part way through the video because it's
Okay.
on.
All right. So I really get the sort of inhale, and I mean, basso profundo is a very peculiar voice. I have only worked with one basso profundo in my life. I've only had one student that was actually a basso profundo, as a guy from the Czech Republic, and yeah, it's a very peculiar voice,
And
right?
it's
I would
rare
say,
too, yeah. And
yeah.
I've
Hmm.
met some like online via Zoom, but I've never met one in person in my life.
Okay.
I think I've met like several regular standard basses, but
Hmm.
you know, it's not the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, anatomy. I mean, nature is wise, right? So, what defines really a voice, and from an anatomically point of view, is obviously the size of your larynx, obviously the thickness and length of your vocal folds. Um, However, you have abnormalities. It's like tall tenors, right? Like that's not the how can I say. I think I got into a
The
conversation with this
norm for
somebody.
tenors is not,
No, tenors usually they are short,
yeah,
and the larynxes are small, and the rib cage is usually, how can I say, like thick. It's like if you take the anatomy of, for example, Mario del Monaco, he was a guy that was my size basically. He was like 5'4", 5'5", with a very wide rib cage. So the larynx was very small, but he had a lot of compression, and that's like what you would define a tenor as a standard. And there is not some. I mean, a standard is a very bold way of describing somebody. But obviously, what defines a bass, is somebody usually is going to be somebody really tall with a very sort of tall and big neck that can accommodate a very big larynx and pharynx, and obviously accommodating very long and thick vocal folds.
you
So,
know, interestingly, that guy in the video, he said that
mm,
like the reason why he had such a low pitched voice is because he went to the voice doctor and it turns out that though his vocal folds are actually average in length and thin in width, it's like his laryngeal space is just very big.
okay. Um, okay, I mean, I'm not a doctor, so I cannot really pronounce myself like a doctor would do, but to produce certain pitches, the thing is that with octavists, there is such a controversy about, as he describes, as long as for what I've listened, like true octavists and like fake octavists.
Oh yeah,
And
like subharmonics or
exactly, and
strobe bass,
obviously
vocal fry.
there you go. So vocal fry is one of the things that, for example, I use vocal fry to develop voices up to an extent, but it's only a resource. A vocal fry alone without amplification, is not something that you can use. So when I see, I don't know the name, I'm very bad with names, but when I see this kind of bald guy that holds the wall, Guinness World Record or whatever, and is with a microphone and it does this very low pitches and stuff. I say, okay, but that's again, that's amplification. It's a gimmick. If you hear a true voice, and that's why, as you say, if you're next to an octavist and he produces one of those things, that it might sound like an earthquake.
Yeah,
That must be a totally different experience.
and I think that Tim Storms, the guy who holds the record for the lowest note, I think I would call him just a regular bass.
Okay, uh, could be.
Because he his extreme low notes are not very strong,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
And anyways, so it was quite nice when the guy in that video, I had an interview with him as well.
Okay.
And he told me that I had a bassy speaking voice. I disagreed, but
Yeah. Okay.
I mean,
I also disagree. I don't think you do have a bassy speaking voice.
yeah.
but it's funny about that. I remember when I met Bruce Ford, who, by the way, for me has been the best tenor in the last 30 years. And I met him in La Monnaie in Belgium. And of course, Bruce Ford was always famous for singing this crazy Rossini repertoire. So if you have not heard, I mean, this is before the YouTube era and stuff. So I had never seen an interview with Bruce Ford. So I didn't have an idea about his speaking voice. And all of a sudden, this guy that was like hitting high D's and high E's for a living had the deepest voice ever, like deeper than mine. So I made it. Hello, I'm Bruce Ford. How you doing? And it was like, wow. Like, I did like, no, you can't be Bruce Ford. You have to be a baritone. But his speaking voice was actually very low, and that surprised me. Wow, and I was expecting like a higher pitched speaking voice.
Yeah, so
Yeah. Yeah. However, in my case, for example, before I studied with James McRae, I was advised by so many people that I have to speak like a tenor, so the position has to be high and all that stuff. And then, like about 2 months, I after I started working with James, my voice dropped like a teenager, like when you have the voice change, and my voice is. And I remember going back home and visiting my grandmother. It was a very funny anecdote because I went to see my grandmother that, thanks God she's still alive. She's 97. It's like a miracle. And I went and I just say, hello, grandma, how you doing? And and she was like, oh my God, finally you speak like a man, you know?
yeah,
so,
a
so
few
I
years
also
ago I
believe,
was a tenor a few years ago.
okay,
And I'm 19 years old now.
well, plenty of time.
Uh, I did have to train my chest voice to sound resonant and loud
Yeah,
slowly over time, over the
okay.
years. Right
Yeah,
now, my vocal teacher says I'm between a mid to high baritone right now, based on
okay.
what it seems like.
All right. I mean, things that you're 19, so it's even though your voice sort of, I don't know when exactly your voice sort of changed, as a man. um 19 is very, very young to actually classify a voice. But also it depends. I don't know, how tall are you? I suppose you can in feet and stuff. How tall are you?
5'7".
5'7". All right, good. Well, 5'7" for me, that's tenor land. Okay. Now,
Hmm.
of course, it's not this is not universal, but you say I'm 5'7". well, that enters into the range of tenor land. Why? Because again, Pavarotti, Corelli, Domingo, and all those people, that's an abnormality. Tall tenors, that it's weird to have tall tenors, you know. Yeah, held and tenors, Melchior and all these people. Yeah, okay, yeah, but they're more closer to a baritone rather than a tenor, held and tenor, true held and tenor, like Melchior. But again, there are so many things that participate in actually classifying a voice that, by the way, is going to change over the years because the epithelium of the vocal folds keeps on growing, and with training also, the voice changes. As I told you, I'm a living example of that. My voice literally dropped. And it's not that I lost my top, actually got better, but actually the bottom of my voice got better, and my middle range also, overall my voice got better with James McRae. Now in your case, I don't know, there are many factors. I would ask you, uh, what note do you need to cover? For example, I mean, if you talk about passaggi,
E.
E. All right. Well, okay, that's a very standard note to cover. Now, my question would be, how high can you go with an open voice, properly supported without covering? Because, for example, my baritones, I made them go open up to a G or an A flat.
Yeah, I can barely like do it up to like a strained F.
Okay. All right. Well, again, I would train to have a proper open F. A baritone, for me, a baritone should be able to have an open F, and a tenor should be able to have an open A flat A.
Okay.
McRae used to take as tenors to B flat open. I mean, they all like Giuseppe Di Stefano would be proud, but he believed that the higher we could go on an open note without covering, the better the cover was gonna go, and actually, you wouldn't lose pharyngeal space. So the pharynx has to be open at all times, otherwise it becomes ingolato. Again, criticisms. And and of course I admire him, but Kaufman, right? It's you
He's
know
very woofy.
it's extremely woofy. I always give the same example. It's like if you had Beniamino Gigli singing Celeste Aida, right? Because he was a lyric tenor, he would go like Celeste Aida. It would be a blatantly open F. Ah! Okay, but then you would have Mario del Monaco or Corelli, a spinto drammatico, and that F would be ah! Right. So that would be the open cover. Obviously, you have a bear like Giacomini, and it would be it's a very cover sound. But what you, to my mind, cannot have is somebody going and it's like, wow, Ben. I mean, you're gonna run into trouble.
Yeah, I
Yet
like
again,
some aspects of Kaufman's voice, but he does use his tongue to artificially create a dark sound.
yeah, I would say so. In his early recordings, there is this Così fan tutti la scala, Così fan tutti la scala, and it's like breathtaking. The voice is unbelievable. It's so open that pharynx is like golden, and you go, wow, why did you do that?
Hmm.
But the tongue thing, it's very funny because when I've talked to people and they talk about the Lo Monaco School of Singing. By the way, I mean James was acquired with that technique, but so that they tend to pull their tongues backwards to sort of mimic what happens in the cover. So in my school of singing, A flat, they would put their tongue, trying to create that depression of the larynx,
Okay, so
but it is artificial.
so
Very much.
uh
Yeah.
so how do you tell if someone's a bass in your opinion? Like
Hmm.
I
How do I tell that someone is okay?
wanted
Okay.
to
Well, again,
train
it's
one
not about
myself.
okay. So it's not about how high you can go. See, that's the first thing I removed from the equation. Like, it's not how high you can go. What's the highest note you can sing? It's basically the tesitura, right? In which your voice is going to be more comfortable, and I mean, and it's going to sort of glow. So your voice is going to have more presence. So basically, if you're a true bass, your voice is going to have uh, I don't know, the money notes of a bass are going to be, I would say, his middle upper register. So it's going to be up to a D maybe,
Hmm.
and that would qualify me as a bass. Why? Because what comes underneath that is what people want to listen, right? Was a baritone, his money notes are going to be around, I would say, E and F. That's going to be
Yeah,
the money note.
I agree. Based on
So
like most baritones I've heard, yes, I agree.
yeah, and then of course there is a plus, because obviously you want to sing prologo and you need that A flat. Good for you, but count what comes underneath. Like before that A flat, because otherwise, if that part of your voice has no, I don't know, no content, it's not, it's not bitey enough. It doesn't have this growl and this sort of earthiness to it. Then uh, I wouldn't count it. I mean, but again, you're talking to somebody who thinks that Tita Rufo was a god. So
Who thinks that
I
Tita Ruva was a what?
a god. I mean, for me, Tita Rufo is this. It's like the
Yeah, he
baritone.
and the Grand Fort are my favorite
Yeah,
baritones.
yeah, yeah. Unbelievable. I mean, there are many others, but yeah, I would say Apollo Granforte and Tita Rufo are just like breathtaking. I absolutely love them. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the list goes on. I mean, who cannot like Giuseppe Taddei, for example,
Yeah, and
or
the one thing I've
Guelfi?
found odd was that some people have come to believe that Rufo was a bass. It's like, what? His
Well,
his low notes were not strong for a baritone, actually. They were weaker than most baritones I've heard, actually.
okay. For me, Tita Rufo was a baritone, and actually a best Verdian baritone ever. And the thing is that I always say this anecdote: when you listen to Tita Rufo singing, Otello's duet with Caruso, at some point you don't know who is who. That's the funny thing. So
Hmm.
you have these two beasts, hand to hand, and you can't really differ who is the baritone and who is the tenor. And there's so much squillo going on that you just go like, wow.
Yeah, so soon we need to end the meeting and then
Mhm.
we can restart again.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. Anyways, so
Yeah.
I often talk about my own vocals on my own channel a lot. So
Mhm.
I will admit I did want to be a bass. So I can kind of
Okay.
relate to you to like wanting to be something you're not.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like my low E, my low F are just usually not strong enough
I see.
for bass roles.
Well, I mean, you can always work on them and see what it takes.